BLM and ANTIFA agitators are rioting and looting in America's cities, all as a new populist alliance is forming. In this video, we're going to take a look at the latest from Minneapolis and another police shooting that sparked renewed violence there. How Antifa agitators continue to absolutely destroy the city of Portland, and how such antics are not only destroying our nation's cities, but actually helping to form a new populist alliance that promises to change politics for the indefinite future. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Wonderful to be with you. As always, we're here to give you each and every single day conservative hope in the midst of these turbulent and trying times, helping you to think better so you can feel better and provide for you a patriot path to freedom. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we begin, we've all experienced blackouts, right? Particularly at night. That ridiculously bizarre feeling when the power grid goes out and our homes go completely dark. Well, I'm preparing for my next blackout with a wonderful device called the Light Bug. A Light Bug is a portable, solar-powered, ultra-bright floodlight with 3 lighting modes. And because it's solar-powered, you'll never ever have to worry about wires or batteries. And because it comes with a power indicator, you know how much charge is still left. So it's perfect to light up your fishing, your hiking, your camping trips, because it's so lightweight and portable, travels easily. And if you click on that link below today, you're going to get 15% off your order. So what can be better? It's a limited time order, so make sure to click on that link below or head on over to lightbug.com and get your emergency backup light today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Look, racial riots have once again erupted in our nation and in the very place where they originated last summer. And that, of course, is the imploding city of Minneapolis. Looting and riots engulfed the city late Sunday, last night, after it was reported that a police officer fatally shot a black man during a traffic stop just 10 miles away from where George Floyd died last May. The shooting victim has been identified as 20-year-old Daunte Wright. He was shot by police in Brooklyn Center. It's a city just north of Minneapolis. Again, just 10 miles away from the courtroom housing the trial of former police officer Derek Chauvin over his role in the death of George Floyd. According to the Brooklyn Center Police Department, Wright was pulled over for a traffic violation on Sunday afternoon when it was discovered that he had an outstanding arrest warrant. When police tried to arrest him, he re-entered the vehicle and was then subsequently shot by the police officer. Wright drove several blocks before he crashed into another vehicle, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. Body cam footage and dash cameras were activated, and so the incident is going through a full and thorough video investigation alike. But of course, that didn't stop Minneapolis from erupting into the all too common racial riots that we've been growing increasingly accustomed to over the last several months. Our good friend Andy No has several videos up on the riots over at his Twitter feed that clearly show mobs of protesters and agitators clashing with police. The Minnesota National Guard was activated to quell the violence that erupted from the protests that gathered throughout Brooklyn Center. Approximately 500 protesters and agitators gathered outside the police precinct in the city and ended up clashing with police officers. And so the mayor there, a fellow by the name of Mike Elliott, had to issue a citywide curfew until 6 a.m. this morning. Now, little is known about Daunte Wright, but Andy No has done some of his own investigating. And he posted on his Twitter feed pictures of Wright from his Facebook page. And this, again, according to No, his Facebook page is filled with pictures of Wright flashing gang signs, using drugs, showing off cash. So he may indeed have been a gang member. We'll find out as more information inevitably comes to the surface. It should be noted, though, that this really is just par for the course of the hagiography of Black Lives Matter. Hagiography is a fancy schmancy way of describing the process by which one becomes a saint. BLM saints, whether we're talking George Floyd or Michael Brown, whoever, they tend to be, shall we say, of questionable character. We certainly learned this of George Floyd when the toxicology report from his autopsy was made known, which showed high levels of multiple drugs, including possibly fatal levels of fentanyl in his system. Also, Floyd was found with drugs on him at the time, and he had a shocking history of violence. He once forced his way into a pregnant woman's house and pointed a loaded gun at her belly while impersonating a government official and demanding drugs and money. So, look, whatever hagiography, as we call it, whatever process of sainthood was originally bestowed on George Floyd, that, of course, has dissipated for the vast majority of Americans, but not for BLM activists. For them, the more, shall we say, corrupt the victim was of police violence, the more he or she is actually victimized. And that's because the cultural Marxism that animates BLM insists on viewing the world as a struggle between group identities characterized by the oppressed versus the oppressor, victims versus victimizers, with the oppressed victim having the moral high ground solely by definition of being oppressed. So when you're engaged in drug activity, violent crime, gangs, whatever social pathology that may be, in the world of BLM, that engagement is symptomatic of someone who's being oppressed. That's the way oppressed people act out their oppression, their victimized status. So the irony here is that the more these shooting victims turn out to be criminals, this fellow apparently had an arrest warrant for him. The more they turn out to be criminals, ironically, they turn out to be all the more the victim. So this is why BLM has no hint of compunction for making these radically flawed people like Michael Brown or George Floyd into saints. Their very lives are symbols of the struggle for social justice. The governor of Minnesota weighed in on all of this. Unfortunately, I think he just made matters worse. He tweeted out, quote, "I am closely monitoring the situation in Brooklyn Center. Gwen and I are praying for Daunte Wright's family as our state mourns another life of a black man taken by law enforcement." Now, what's so sad about this kind of inflaming of racial tension by this leftist governor is just how untrue it happens to be. This notion that cops use deadly force against blacks more often than they do against, say, whites has been completely and totally debunked by a number of scholars. The Manhattan Institute scholar Heather McDonald, she's done her work. A number of other scholars, particularly Harvard scholar Roland Fryer, who is himself black, they have debunked this assertion beyond a reasonable doubt. As Heather McDonald in particular has noted, the Washington Post's own investigation into police shootings found that in 2019, there were 9 unarmed blacks shot by police as compared to 19 unarmed whites. So unarmed whites were twice as likely to be shot by police than blacks. And this stat is even more significant given the fact that blacks were responsible for 53% of murders and 60% of robberies in 2018. McDonald didn't have the crime statistics for 2019 as of yet. In terms of overall police shootings, blacks make up about 25% of those shot by police, even though they're responsible for over 50% of all crime. In fact, we've got data that shows that police are actually more hesitant to shoot black suspects than they are white suspects. So this Minnesota governor is not helping anything at all by further fanning the flames of racial tensions and resentments, especially when he ends up misrepresenting reality in the process. Unfortunately, it's not just BLM and Minneapolis. Antifa is guaranteeing the inevitable demise of the city of Portland as well. But before we get into that, as many of you know, I am back from beautiful and free Orlando, Florida. Can you see my tan? I had a wonderful meeting with our whole Turley Talks team out there, and we are so excited about our upcoming new conservative Patriot Live benefit conference, which we're holding this weekend, April 16th and 17th. It's a virtual conference, so you don't even have to leave your sofa, the comfort of your own home, and you can secure your seat simply by clicking on the link below. We're going to be focusing on how you and I can together rise up against woke cancel culture and build back the world that we know and love together. We're going to be answering a question that patriots have been asking for months. What do I do? I know things may be moving in our direction. I know that liberalism may be more unpopular than ever. I know that patriot movements and leaders are rising up all over the world. I know that. But in the meantime, with this Biden bumbling idiot, what do I do? And what appears to be for the very first time ever, we're going to devote an entire 2-day conference to answering that question on what we can do to secure our freedom from woke insanity once and for all. Now, tickets are going fast and seating is limited. So if you want to secure your seat, make sure to click on that link below right now, because ticket prices are going up right before the Patriot Live event. So do not miss it. Click on that link below, and I'll see you for a weekend that promises to be a game changer like never before. All right, so moving on to Portland over the weekend, it's being widely reported that Antifa agitators have renewed their assaults on a U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement facility, attempting to burn the facility down over the weekend, which ended up with federal agents having to shoot pepper balls to disperse the rioters. Video footage of arson attempts and vandalism in the building are making their way around the internet as we speak, and this rioting is on top of the last several weeks of rioting that's plagued the city, where rioters set fires, smashed windows in the area of the Mark O. Hatfield U.S. courthouse they end up getting driven away by federal officers as a result. Look, you don't have to be a genius to figure out what's going on here. We really are seeing nothing less than the death of Democrat-run cities. There are an increasing number of articles being written indicating that the future of our nation's cities, particularly those in blue states that are run by a single one-party Democratic monopoly, not like Orlando, for example, they really are imploding. It's almost becoming commonplace now to read articles declaring that, for example, we're seeing the death of New York City. Just between the months of March and May of last year, okay, we're talking just 3 months, New York lost almost 500,000 residents. And what's happening to New York is happening to Democrat monopolized cities all across the nation. They are imploding as we speak. And what's so fascinating here is that these refugees from the cities, right, these immigrants as we call them, right, these immigrants fleeing from the cities and resettling in America's suburbs and exurbs, they appear to be adopting a highly defensive posture in their politics. In other words, their politics are now all about a populace defending of themselves from the urban rot that they fled. Here's some anecdotal evidence for that. Gun sales have increased nearly 60% in August of last year, which followed a 135% increase in the month of July, and an even more astonishing 145% increase in gun sales in June when all the riots were going on. There are nearly 5 million first-time gun buyers in the United States as of 2020. The National Instant Criminal Background Check System database from January of last year through to July, when the race riots were breaking out, found that 40% of the 12 million background checks were first-time background checks, making up nearly 5 million brand new first-time gun owners. We really do appear to be seeing the makings of a new populist politics, where the suburban and exurban residents are taking on a dramatically defensive posture. All the while, that posture will only increase as our cities continue to burn. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, subscribe to my channel. Definitely click on the link and check out some of our awesome merch. And you'll definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded. It was on my time. It was live from Orlando, Florida. I think you're going to absolutely love the project we're working on for this weekend. We give you some more insights and some sneak peeks on some guest speakers as well. So you're not going to want to miss it. Make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.